Yorkshire will go into the last day of their LV County Championship match against Northamptonshire at Wantage Road with a great chance of a victory after Adam Lyth and Alex Lees took their opening partnership to an incredible 375, breaking a number of records along the way. They'd come together at just after 12:15 on the second day and set off again on the third morning with a stand of 237 already under their belts. That had given their side a lead of 122 runs, and there was to be no stopping them as this pair continued their partnership right through to 2:15 on this day. Both men had already secured their hundreds before the penultimate day got going, but neither batsman looked in any hurry to get out. Lyth had begun his on 116 and he hardly played a false shot as he eased his way to his 150 after another hour of batting. He'd faced 279 balls from which he'd struck 22 fours. The partnership with Lees had now overtaken the 279 made by the world-famous Percy Holmes and Herbert Sutcliffe as the highest opening stand for Yorkshire against this county. This partnership passed 300 as Lyth effortlessly drove Matt Spreagle over long off for his first and indeed only 6. Now this was the highest ever partnership for Yorkshire against Northamptonshire. It was to go on to become the 4th highest partnership in Yorkshire's long first-class history. It was made even more remarkable in the way that these two earned their runs. Lyth is suddenly being talked about as the next Yorkshire player to play for England, and you can't argue with that on this form. Not even losing his bat got in the way as Lyth played an innings which will live long in the memory of all of those who were lucky enough to see it. At 330, this stand became the highest ever for a first wicket against Northamptonshire, beating Alan Jones and Roy Fredericks back in 1972 in Swansea. Lyth then pulled Azhar Ullah for his 28th four to get to the second double hundred of his career. He'd needed 351 deliveries for this one before he headed off for a celebration near his teammates. Lees had been left behind by Lyth's brilliance, and when he tried to go over the top off Spreagle, he placed the ball into the hands of Maurice Chambers at mid-on. After an amazing 118 overs together, these two were finally parted after making 375 runs, the best stand of the season. Lees was out for a sensational 138, leaving it to Lyth to keep going. He was seeing the ball so well, he could probably have hit a walnut for 4, as he closed in on his career best of 248, which was made against Leicestershire a couple of years ago. In 9 overs with Aaron Finch, another 49 runs were added to take the total onto 424. Yet Lyth was cross with himself when he got out, nicking a ball from Andrew Hall behind. His exceptional innings ended on 230 after exactly 8 hours, in which time he'd faced 398 balls and hit 31 fours and 1 6. He and Lees, who'd batted for 7 hours and 20 minutes for his 138, had now helped their side convert a 115-run deficit on first innings into a lead of 309. Andrew Gale wanted to hurt Northamptonshire some more, and he left it to Jack Leaning and Finch to play some shots. Finch was the ideal man to have at the crease at this moment, and he went after James Middlebrook, clearing the rope with this big shot. His first championship 50 arrived off 53 balls, from which he'd hit 3 fours and that 1 6. He and Leaning were now pushing their side towards 500, not for the first time this season. How this game had turned in the last 24 hours, and for everyone outside of Yorkshire, you couldn't help feeling a little bit sorry for the Northamptonshire attack. With only 2 wickets in 140 overs, you could expect their heads to be down, but they kept plugging away. Finch drove Chambers to Stephen Peters in the covers to depart for 63. Although the lead now stood at 371, Gale carried on looking for more runs. It was now the time for new man Johnny Bairstow and Leaning to throw the bat. You won't be surprised to hear that they did that very well, with both men hitting huge sixes as Yorkshire did indeed get beyond 500. This was a nice moment too for Leaning, who raced to his maiden first-class 50 in just his 4th innings. He got there off only 51 balls. With the field spread far and wide, he'd struck 3 fours and 1 6. Soon after that, Yorkshire did declare on 546 for 3 after 147 overs, and that left Northamptonshire a target of 432. In their favour, they were all too aware that this pitch had flattened out since their first innings. Still, after such a slaughtering in the field, the confidence must have ebbed from them. What they desperately needed was for that to return, courtesy of a strong opening partnership of their own. It was up to Middlebrook and Peters to get the ball rolling. But after starting with a stand of 31, Middlebrook edged a drive off Tim Bresnan behind to go for 6. A well-rested Bresnan then struck again, Peters this time with the nick, which was caught in the slips by the man of the moment, Lythe. And when David Sales followed 3 balls later for a duck, Jack Brooks moving back to the top of the wicket-taking charts with his 31st of the Championship summer, Northants were in a big mess on 32 for 3. It was now vital that Spriegel and Rob Keogh survive the remaining 11 overs of the day. They must have thought that if one pair could put on a massive partnership, then why couldn't they? Of course, the situation is very different when your backs are up against the wall like this. Keogh showed what was possible though by timing this flick off Liam Plunkett so well that it flew over the boundary. He ended the day on 19 while Spriegel has made 14 of his side's score of 66 for 3. That leaves the bottom club of the First Division needing a further 366 runs to win for the first time this year. Or they will have to try to see out 96 overs on the last day unless the weather comes to their assistance.